Alright, one last video to the Amadeus guy. So don't watch this video. If you know that suffering sucks, if you know that suffering is something, the thing that is suffering is enduring and experiencing, and that the suffering doesn't need a witness to be suffering. Like there could be a planet on the opposite side of the sun, just like Earth, with nothing but tortured human beings on, or let's even just say tortured gorillas. Now you would know that that was a bad thing. That it would be good if the gorillas weren't in pain. Yeah, I know. I mean, look. So yeah, don't bother with this video. I mean, this really can't apply, but to the most egomaniacal, insane motherfuckers on this planet. I don't. You know, there might be a higher percentage of those on Vloggerheads, but I don't think so. So anyway. So he titles the video, "The Strawed Man Speaketh," implying that somehow I have created an argument that he isn't making and knocked that down. And in this video he's going to clearly say again that he's a relativist. He's also I don't even know what you would call it, right? I mean, a perceptualist. He doesn't think something exists until somebody perceives it, until somebody acknowledges its existence. So like right now, I have a headache. I take a couple aspirin. So I have a headache. Now if I didn't tell you I had a headache and you didn't acknowledge the existence of my headache, by his philosophy, my headache would not exist. It wouldn't exist as a bad thing. I wouldn't be in any kind of negative, unpleasant state. And everything would be just fine because nobody was disturbed, or no one had to express any empathy or to think about headaches or to contemplate it or to worry about it. So as long as there's nobody to worry about it or to think about it or to care about it, somehow the headache doesn't exist now. It doesn't mean anything. It can only have meaning when some witness shows up to acknowledge that it exists. I mean, it is just the silliest of philosophies. But anyway, so there can't be a straw man here. That's the point I have argued.
I feel is enough to explain my position.
Oh, yeah, well, you can feel all you want, but feeling ain't doing, fella.
Dear Amanda, dear Vital, dear reactionary viewers, this is not
yeah, whatever. You are just playing a game, right? I mean, you're just trying to stir up a pot for the sake of it, just to waste people's time and, you know, keep yourself, like, I'm interesting, right? You are really doing the Vogue thing here, aren't you? You're just voguing.
Response to any of your comments or videos directly.
Vogue. Dun, 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 dun,
Making my
dun, dun.
position perfectly.
Okay, because if it was, I'd be 1,000 million hours worth of defending odd positions you've invented. Well, I'm sorry, these aren't odd positions people are inventing. You've been quoted, your videos have been played, the points have been responded to, people have wasted a lot of their time convoluting arguments to undo your silly, well, what if the whole world is the Matrix crap? And that's all you're doing here. You're just saying, well, what if reality isn't as it seems, as it's demonstrated itself to be, and all the other animals really don't feel? Yeah, you can say that in this video. You basically speculate that we don't know. I don't know that other people are in pain. I don't know that they suffer. I don't even know that they're conscious, because I don't have some document, some proof from a God that says so. So therefore I can't draw the reasonable, rational, probabilistic inference from the huge, preponderously gigantic pile of evidence. You're wasting our time. We're not wasting yours.
Clear in a very boring monotone by reading off a page so that when I have
A page of what? Yeah, this is, where did you get this from? What dead, dopey philosopher did you get your faith from? Like, why don't you show us the book of reason that you plucked this philosophy of relativism from, and you call other people dogmatists? You seem pretty hardly glued to a pretty lame and irrational concept of reality.
videos, when I have ranting videos, you can go back and look, and I can point to the bare facts laid out.
Yeah, right. Of your deleted videos, right? You've deleted, what, half the videos you've posted? So yeah, you want to guarantee me you'll leave some of this crap up forever? Because I'd love you to have to live with this for the rest of your life. Just what an asshole you were on the internet. Yeah, I mean, you're a SmugTard. Yeah, I come up with a new one for you. You are a SmugTard. You know, you fucking pompous, arrogant little prick. You've been defeated soundly in the argument. You have resorted to the cheapest forms of quote mining. You haven't even come close to making an argument. And then you claim in perfect passive-aggressive, cuntish behavior that you're being straw-manned. Yeah. Sniff, any of you would like to actually bother laws is whatever. Whatever. You can't just do a video, right? You have to play this game too.
My opinion on suffering. It is an experience humans and many animals have evolved. It is an experience that we do not enjoy. It is in fact the opposite of enjoyment.
Alright, so it's the opposite of enjoyment. I don't know if you've ever proven that one. It's different, that's for sure. You could say that much. But let's go with your word. Let's say it was the opposite. Then it would be sort of like positive and negative, right? Those are the two things. There's positive and negative. And this little neutral thing in between. Now, isn't there sort of a concept like that? There's good feelings, bad feelings, and nothing feelings. Right? So, yeah, it's a lot alike.
There are many times when we may enjoy suffering, but only.
Alright, many times where we would enjoy suffering. So right there, that's just who you talking to. You mean you and your clan of axe murderers and psychopaths and Gestapo guards and shit? Who the fuck are you talking to? People who pile little, Arabs up in naked pyramids? Who the fuck are you talking to? We enjoy suffering? I think you're pretty fucked up.
When our enjoyment outweighs the suffering of that situation, i.e. physical exercise, studying for an exam, any learning.
Those are not very good examples of suffering, okay? I mean, next you're going to say a boner is suffering. Yeah, I mean, I think strictly speaking, it could probably qualify because it is a deprivated state. It's a state of desperate need. But yeah, I think again, this is how what you call a straw man is the fact that I'm saying I've made it pretty explicit what I'm talking about when I'm talking about suffering, and I'm not talking about stubbed toes or minor inconveniences or there's sticky stuff on the table, I'm suffering. I mean, you're just trivializing the argument. You're playing the game. This is straw man. You just straw manned the word suffering. Suffering is not exercise or reading a book.
Experience which requires some kind of trial that may appear to cause you to suffer. You might enjoy it because in the long run you get a benefit which has enjoyment outweighing the suffering of that activity.
Well, and what if it's imposed on you? What if you don't get any enjoyment out of the suffering? What if you're in a concentration camp in 1938 and it's freezing and you have no food and you got bugs eating at you all day and it's just nasty and pitiful? What's your... And you may enjoy that. As long as I think you're enjoying it, it's okay. As long as the Nazis think you're enjoying it, it's okay. It's not a problem. Until somebody cares, it's okay. It's not a problem. So, I mean, we could all own slaves, and it wouldn't really be a problem as long as none of us have a problem with it. As long as none of us suffer for owning them and torturing them and abusing them. As long as it doesn't bother us any, it's perfectly okay. Retard.
As beings that can experience suffering and enjoyment, we tend to promote our own enjoyment over our own suffering, and we tend to view this as our goal. I personally pursue...
Yeah, well, whatever. This is... What you personally do is not a philosophical argument. And again, and you're talking about two different things. You're talking about the desire mechanism now, and you're mixing it in with the suffering mechanism. The only point of the videos is to demonstrate that suffering is an absolute negative, not a relative one, not a one dependent on perception. It exists independent of all other reality. It exists in isolation in the thing that is experiencing the suffering. We don't need a second experiencer to qualify it, to show up with a little seal of Nobel Prize approval or something and stick it on the suffering thing and saying, this thing is suffering. That piece of paper, you can take that piece of paper and say, Gary has a headache. It's now official because somebody's acknowledged it. That's just ludicrous.
My own enjoyment and try to avoid suffering. The words bad, good, evil.
Well, you say you don't murder kittens, but you advocate for the you would make it legal for people to, for example, cockfighting, dog fighting, bullfighting, kitten fighting even. You'd probably legalize that. You said clearly you would not pass a law preventing your friend from beating a dog to death with a baseball bat. That there is no, as long as we as the majority don't say it's a problem, it's not a problem. I mean, fuck you. You can't keep riding this, I don't kill anything. No, if you eat meat, you kill things, asshole. It's just a practical implication of the behavior. Retard.
When wrong, all carry connotations of intrinsic value, not relativistic value.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Again, so you're going right back to the beginning. You're just ignoring all these videos and calling it a straw man. I've argued against this idiotic notion that value is something you project onto something, like a judge at a trial. You're saying the judge declares the truth, not the facts. The facts don't declare the truth or make the truth. No, the judge, until he says so, that's when the crime happened. The crime doesn't happen until the judge says so. That's the bullshit here. We know that the murder happened. We know the crime happened. We don't need a judge to say so.
Experience has value that is irrelevant of context, or experience, or of an observer.
Yeah, well, that's the key one there. Well, context is always important. We already made that argument. Every equation is going to be different depending on what you're balancing, what good against what positive, so that'll be another video. But that's a separate subject from this relativism one where you just concluded and said the perception of, because you don't think suffering exists independent of somebody's acknowledgement of it.
I do not believe that any being is yet capable of entering the mind of another being.
Talk about straw man. But we don't need to enter their mind, do we? So you're saying that we don't have enough evidence, that the preponderance of the evidence, that way past a reasonable doubt amount of evidence hasn't been compiled to indicate that human beings have a similar conscious capacity, and that we can project from all observable evidence that many animals are experiencing similar conscious interaction with the world. You're saying the evidence isn't there? It's not conclusive? Not even close to conclusive? Yeah, okay. Go ahead and ride that dead horse through your life. Go ahead. Ride that. You talk about people's dogma. You talk about their silly devotions. Well, that's a silly devotion. You're not going to get too far with that nonsense in your brain.
Do you think that? I don't think so.
You think, well, I have to go back.
I do not believe that any being is yet capable of entering the mind of another being. Do you think that?
Okay, so that's the straw man, right? I mean, he's saying we have to actually get inside each other's heads entirely and actually experience each other's consciousness before we can draw the definite you know, enough to invest your life, your kid's life, your dog's life, everything that matters to you, you would invest in that truth. If that truth was on the stock market, right, you'd bet the house on it, wouldn't you? Let's just be honest. So we really don't got to argue this, do we? We know that we're not that special, right? We all know that we're not the Incredible Hulk or Spider-Man or Superman, and that we're experiencing something unique to the universe's experience. So this is so. Can we declare this like the bogus argument of the year? So when next year's Headleys come up, we can have the most bogus argument of the year award, and it's got to go to this guy.
I don't think so. Therefore, we might suffer as a result of picturing, or imagining, or empathizing with an animal.
And if we don't, it's not a problem then. So yeah, alright, fire up the Barbie and throw whoever you're prejudiced or bigoted against on it. Ugh, fuck.
But it is not their suffering we wish to diminish when we give them rights. It is our suffering as a result.
Did you hear that? So when you give somebody a right, when we free the slaves, we're not doing it because we understand, oh, this is so fucking wrong. No, we're doing it because we're suffering and we have to relieve ourselves of the burden. I mean, that's just so fucking stupid. So when I stopped eating meat, merely because I recognized it was so fucking wrong, that to take everything, to do that to an animal for my gratification, somehow I was relieving my suffering. I mean, I'm not attempting to relieve them of the burden I placed on them. I'm trying to relieve my own burden. I mean, that's just so fucking idiotic.
Of picturing, or imagining, or empathizing with them. It is our own suffering. And that, I feel, is enough to explain my position.
Yeah. Well, okay, I should let him finish. So he thinks that's enough to explain his... So he's arguing, like I said, that the kitten doesn't suffer unless you do. So if you're not empathetic, the kitten doesn't suffer. If you think a kitten is made out of stones and it doesn't have a consciousness, then the kitten doesn't have a consciousness and it doesn't suffer. I mean, this is just too stupid. This is just too stupid, right? This is too stupid. This is too stupid for the internet, even. It really is. This is too stupid for the internet. There should be like, a .smugTard, right? And like all the websites that have these kind of assholes, they should be on the not .com or .org or .net. No, it should be .smugTard. They're just too stupid, too arrogant, too smug. Just too big a waste of time. So, I think we're done. Yay. Yeah, I'll do my Vulcan thing. May you get what you advocate. And such. Hard. And as nasty as possible. Yeah. What a fucking idiot.